What's up, guys? This is the Osmo.com night shift. We are talking MLB for Thursday, June 14th. Two slates going on. We've got an early slate on DraftKings, and then on DraftKings as well, there is a main slate with only 4 games. So we'll go through each of these games really quickly. There are 9 games total. Is that right? 9 games? Am I counting wrong? Yeah, there's 9 games total. All right. Let's get into it. Get to Osmo.com. Check out the ownership projections. Check out the rankings that you get with our premium package. We've got a bunch of free content as well, including this podcast, the MLB strategy video, the live stream, spotlight hitters, pitchers, stacks, as well as other sports, including PGA. So go check out Osmo.com. Look at everything. We've got a ton of content to offer. Let's get into these games. We've got San Francisco against Miami, and it looks like it's going to be Derek Rodriguez against Dan Straley. Want to get confirmation that Rodriguez is going to start. It looks like DraftKings has him listed as a starter, so that is good news. 6,500 over there. As a cheap option, I think he makes a lot of sense on the short slate. He needs you to get double-digit points, but I've got him graded out around there, around 10 points. If he can get you that for 6,500, I think on that early slate, I don't think you're going to be in a bad spot at all. Let's see. Make sure DK is keeping this game in the slate, and it's actually not going to be in the slate now that I look at it. I just figured they would have this on there. But it's only going to be a 4-game early, 4-game late. But I'll just go through it regardless. Straley, 46% hard contact to lefties. That sort of sticks out like a sore thumb. And then you go same thing against righties, over 50% hard contact. So hard contact machine. I should start calling him Ian Kennedy. I've got him being much better overall against righties, but he's been pretty lucky with his quality of contact so far. So give me some McCutchen, give me some Posey and Panic and Crawford, maybe even Pablo Sandoval. So like Rodriguez, not really on Straley. I guess we don't really have to worry about him if you're playing on DraftKings on that early slate. Colorado and Philadelphia. German Marquez going up against Vince Velasquez. Marquez only 5,300. That's super cheap against the Phillies. I don't think he's that bad of an option. I mean, that price, 5,300 against the Phillies. Yeah, the Phillies are at home, but I mean, Marquez can strike out guys from time to time. He's outside of Coors. Really, the only Philadelphia bats I like are Santana and Rhys Hoskins. So I've got some interest in Marquez if he's going to be that cheap. This is a fantastic get-right spot for Vince Velasquez after the disaster start against Milwaukee, in which he gave up 10 earned. The Rockies on the road once again. I mean, what else is there to say? They're just not good on the road. They're not good against righties. They're not good against righties on the road. So any splits you're really looking at, this looks like an awesome matchup for Vince Velasquez. Let's see. Any bats in this game? I mean, I don't really see much that I like. I mean, Blackman, you can always make a case for him. I don't see Velasquez having another blow-up start, so I won't be heavy on bats here, kind of like both of the pitchers, and especially Velasquez for 7,100. I think that he'll probably be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. It's hard to imagine him not being the overwhelming chalk, because the secret's kind of out on Colorado. Minnesota and Detroit, we have Lance Lynn going up against Michael Fulmer. Lynn, I think I'll probably end up mixing in Lynn on the short slate. The matchup against Detroit is neutral, but I also want to see what the lineup is that Detroit rolls out, because if it's lefty heavy, I don't know who they have to call up that's a lefty or who they can even put in, but like if we start seeing 5 or 6 lefties that Lynn has to face, then I'll back off him a little bit. But right now I'm seeing possibly 6 righties he gets to face, and that would be great news for Lynn. 6,900, that's a nice pivot from Velasquez if he's going to be the chalk. Detroit bats that I want to target would be Candelario and Leonis Martin. Really, any lefty against Lance Lynn is going to be in play, but those are the 2 guys that look like decent hitters. So that would probably be the extent of it. Michael Fulmer has also struggled against lefties this year, over 90 mile an hour average exit velocity against them, under 20% K rate. He's got good stuff, like a good fastball and stuff, but he's sort of a confusing project for me to figure out, and I think I'm going to be off of him here with all these Twins lefties that I like. Kepler, Rosario, Logan Morrison, Escobar, even Grossman. Just seems like a pretty good spot for the Twins, but I mean, like I said, Fulmer's confusing to me, so I can't. I wish I could predict what he's going to do from start to start, but he's one of those guys where I just can't get a feel for him game to game, matchup to matchup. Cleveland and Chicago White Sox, we have Mike Clevinger against Carlos Rodon. Clevinger I like here. I like getting the White Sox righties. I like, I don't know, I mean, it should be a good matchup for him. The only problem with him, and it's not really a problem with him at all, it's that if I want to pay up for a pitcher here, it's Verlander. And yeah, it's a $3,400 difference on DraftKings. So that is substantial if you want to get down to Clevinger, if you're not a Verlander believer on this slate. But I really want to get up to Verlander if I can. So Clevinger will probably go a little bit under-owned for me. And then I like Moncada. I like Daniel Palka. Almost called him David for the 50th time, but caught myself there. So those are the 2 guys I like against Clevinger. Rodon on the other side I like as a pitcher, but I don't think I can go up against the Indians with a lefty. He's at the right price, 6,300. I think that's where he should be priced. He's got the talent, but just on the year, the Indians strike out under 19% of the time, a 332 on base percentage and a 109 WRC plus. That's really scary for a guy that is he's only made limited starts this year. Cleveland bats are all in play for me. I don't really like playing Geyer just because he gets pinch hit for so often, and I don't know if that's held true this year. I haven't looked into it that much, but I just remember him being a guy that always gets pinch hit for against a lefty. So I would be wary on him, but Yan Gomes, Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, Edwin Encarnacion, I think are all great plays. Houston and Oakland, last game of the early slate. We have Justin Verlander going up against Frankie Montas. So Verlander's going to be my guy. I'm going to try to get him in as much as possible. 13-1 on DraftKings is going to be tough to do, but with guys like Velasquez, with Lance Lynn, and even German Marquez, I think that I'm going to be able to do it more times than not. So, he just got the highest swinging strike rate, highest whiff rate, all of that for any pitcher on really the day, but the slate in general, and he's in a good park too. There are some strikeouts in this Oakland lineup, so I'm not targeting bats against him. I want to get all the Verlander I can handle. Montas on the other side does not really miss any bats, so I'm a little bit confused about why he's got such great results. I mean, that can happen in a few game sample, but so the numbers look good for him, the results at least, but I think I'll pass on this slate. 7,500 against the Astros. Yeah, he's going to get a lot of righties, but I don't think I can do it with Montas. So he will be one of the pitchers I probably have no exposure to. Even if I make 150 lineups, I don't think I'll end up with Montas on really any of them. He might get excluded. Houston bats I like here. Like I said, I think Montas has some regression coming and doesn't get the whiffs, doesn't get the chases, does not do anything really impressive to me in the short sample. So give me the Strohs bats. It's really the top 4, and then Reddick and Brian McCann is a nice catcher option if he's in the lineup as well. Tampa Bay and the Yankees. We are now moving on to the main slate, so let me open up a DraftKings tab quick so I can see the pricing. Here we go. All right. So, there we go. All right, Blake Snell going up against Domingo Germán. I believe it's supposed to be. DraftKings is showing the guy that's getting called up for the Yankees. I can't even pronounce his name. It starts with an L. Losiga or something. I'm probably pronouncing that so wrong, so don't get mad at me if you're a Yankees fan or whatever, but I think it's going to be Domingo Germán. That's what I'm seeing on Fangraphs and a few other sources. So we'll talk about Snell first. Only had one strikeout in his last start, but the swinging strike rate looked great, and that was against Seattle, his second straight start against Seattle. I just think Snell is really good. He's the highest priced pitcher on the slate, but I think that is warranted. I think he's the best pitcher on the slate in his current form, so I'll be all over him. It's a tough matchup, and he's priced up, and he's on the road, and the Yankees are good against lefties, but I just have to believe in the talent here, and I will have Snell on a lot of my lineups. I hope he comes in low-owned just because of all the reasons I said. The Yankees have a 23% K rate despite all their great numbers against lefties. So there are some strikeouts. I think the strikeouts will be there for him, and yeah, he might give up a few runs, but that's not really going to scare me because I don't see a lot of pitchers on this slate scoring very much. If I was targeting bats against Snell, it would be Judge or Giancarlo Stanton, but I am not going to be targeting mini bats against Snell. Maybe a hedge stack if you're into that, but yeah, I really believe in Snell's stuff, so I'm going to try to lay off the Yankees as much as possible. Domingo Germán, super erratic in his first few starts, but on a short slate, I don't know how you don't consider him. He's 6,700. I would have to assume he'll be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. If he indeed does get the start, he grades out phenomenally in most stats that I think are important for pitching. Gets a good home matchup against the Rays. I mean, what else do you have to say? If he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it, and he could get blasted, especially at home. Short porch and bright. I think Bowers is probably my favorite Rays bat, which is weird to say because he just came up, but he's been good. And then Wilson Ramos and CJ Cron. So, you know, maybe Germán has some trouble with those three guys, but it is a really, really good matchup for him. So, I mean, I'll have some Tampa stacks just because if I make multiple lineups, I'm not going all in on Germán because of how variant he can be. But I think that he's also a great option in really all formats. San Diego and Atlanta. Tyson Ross against Brandon McCarthy. I think Ross has been really lucky this year, but also I think that he's also been a lot better. There's no doubt about that than he had been the past couple of years. So he's a little bit confusing to me. Still walking guys, still giving up hard contact. I don't like the idea of playing Ross here for 8,100 against an offense that I really respect. So I'd probably still be off of Ross here. But I don't know where else to go besides Snell and Germán. So I might just end up getting a little piece of a bunch of guys that I don't really like. That's why this slate is kind of unappealing to me. I do like Snell a ton, but I mean, I will be targeting against Ross. I'll be playing some Freeman and Albies, Markakis. I'll have a lot of them. I'm just very intrigued to see who is the most owned pitcher behind Snell and Germán. Brandon McCarthy going for the Braves. Maybe it could be him emerging as the third guy. I wouldn't be shocked, actually. At home against San Diego, that'll probably get a lot of people's attention, but this guy just does not have a lot of upside. He has these random starts. Just if you look at his DK game logs, he goes 23, 21, 21. But as a pitcher, just as an overall pitcher for DFS, from what I'm looking at, he does not really do it for me. He doesn't make guys swing and miss. He does not make guys chase. I don't really know how he has these starts where he goes deep and gets strikeouts because the numbers don't really add up. But I if he's going to be any sort of chalk, I won't have Brandon McCarthy. I actually like Hosmer and Corey Spangenberg against him. So that's my take there. Mets and Diamondbacks, we have Steven Matz against Matt Cook. Matz, he's just a guy who does not do it for me, similar to McCarthy. So if either of these guys are going to be chalk, then I will be on the complete opposite side. So the strikeouts for Matz are there for righties. The strikeout percentage, I think he's over 23%. But I don't really see why they should be. He doesn't get ahead of guys. He doesn't get the swinging strikes. He does not get guys to chase. And for that reason, I'm going to pass. For those reasons, I'm going to pass. And the D-backs have been really good against lefties over the last few weeks. So Goldschmidt is the obvious top guy. But then I like John Ryan Murphy. I like Nick Ahmed if he's in that lineup. And then Ketel Marte has actually been really good against lefty pitching this year, which I was surprised to see. Really good hard contact numbers, not striking out. So I like me some Diamondbacks against Steven Matz. Matt Cook going for the Diamondbacks. He is 6,200. I can make a case for Matt Cook, and he would be a guy I'd probably sprinkle in just because I can't go 100% on two pitchers, on Snell and Herman. But so here's the case for Cook. I mean, nothing exciting about him, but he is super cheap. He's at home. He's had some starts where he's been okay and gotten you, 16, 12, 18, 16 DK points. I mean, who knows if he's going to do it here. He had a 30 DK point game. Man, if he gets you a third of that, I think you're fine here on this slate. Anyways, so I just don't think that he is the craziest play. I really don't want to play McCarthy. I really don't want to play Matz. So if he's going to go under-owned at home, I'm not really that scared of the Mets offense. They're much better against righties, but still, if no one is going to be on him and he's not going to be the chalky third guy, then I guess give me some Matt Cook. The Mets bats that I want against him, because he does give up a lot of hard hits, are Asdrubal and Brandon Nimmo, Jay Bruce. You know who you can play on the Mets. You can't really rule out many hitters in this slate in general, 4-game slate. So Mets bats, I guess, are still in play. Boston and Seattle, last game of the night. David Price going up against Felix Hernandez. This is like a matchup from 2010. So Price is 8,600, Felix 5,800. I don't want lefties against Price, but I think the Mariners can roll out a pretty good lineup against him with a lot of right-handed bats. So I think people will play him out of necessity because he's the second highest priced pitcher or whatever. He's a big name, but the Mariners just do not strike out enough for me, so probably won't end up on much price there. Haniger, Cruz, Segura, Healy all worry me, and I don't mind playing any of them against David Price. And then Hernandez on the other side, I don't think you can really go to him here. Boston's just so tough. At least the top of that lineup is so tough with Mookie in the lineup. So I'll probably be off Felix. I'm going to limit myself to probably 4 pitchers on the slate if I'm max entering. And it's really tough to get a feel for pitching. I think there's a lot of hitting on this slate. You've got the Red Sox. You've got the Diamondbacks, who I like. The Braves against Tyson Ross. You can definitely make a case for the Mets bats. I like the Mariners. So I think I have a pretty good feel for the bats. I just don't know where I'm going to go to spread out my pitching exposure. You know who you're taking on the Red Sox. It's Betts. It's Benintendi, JD, Xander Bogaerts. I like a ton. The one guy I don't really play is Eduardo Nunez, but he's just such a low WRC plus. He just has not been good this year. So that's going to do it for the night shift. We talked both slates. Hope this got you started for your research for Thursday, June 14th. We will have the MLB strategy video that will be live, and then we'll have the live stream with myself and Chris tomorrow, as well as a video out with Osimo himself. So that'll be really interesting for our premium members. All right, guys, good luck on these 2 slates.